What's going on, guys? It's Julian. This is Vanilla Gorilla Kitchen, and this is a one of two video I will do today. So this is part one, because the dish we're going to do today is something my family likes to eat. It's very simple, so I don't want you guys to feel cheated by having everything done ahead of time and then just showing you guys how to put stuff together. I think with something like this, I've got no problem doing a couple different dishes or a couple different videos. What's going on, Tim? This one, we're going to show you how to braise the chicken, because this is something you really want to do ahead of time so it cools properly. Like I told you guys last week with the steaks, whenever you braise something, it's always best to let it rest in the liquids, preferably overnight, because as it cools, it's going to, it's going to release a lot of that liquid, a lot of that moisture, a lot of that flavor that it's been cooked in. And when this stuff cools, it allows everything to kind of quit jumping around, quit moving around. Molecules start to slow down, and it reabsorbs that liquid. Not much, buddy, just showing people how to braise some chicken. The dish that I'm doing today is a chicken, cheese, rice, broccoli, kind of like a casserole. My wife's family would do this whenever they would have like get-togethers and stuff like that. She's made it for me a few times, and it's a really good dish. We usually use, store-bought cheese sauces, because it's just one of those dishes I don't want to fuck with, making a simple cheese sauce, bechamel sauce. So, and then we'd usually buy like a rotisserie, but I'm gonna show you for cheaper, you can make it better. So, like I said, this first video I'm gonna show you guys how to make is just braising some chicken. What's going on, Hunter? Let's get a regular bowl right here. And then for the second video tonight, I will show you guys how to put it together, how to make that cheese sauce, how I go about doing rice, and we'll go from there. Just don't want you guys to feel cheated on a video tonight. So, and then Wednesday, I'm gonna do Casserole, which is a Mexican soup, one of my favorite soups to eat. So I've got the pork on brine now for that. And then Friday, I'm gonna make schnitzel, which is a German meat that's pounded pretty thin. I'm gonna do it with pork. And we're gonna make spätzle as well. Probably do like a black pepper spätzle, which is just a pasta that's boiled almost like a gnocchi, just with the exception of, it not having potatoes. And then it is picked up in a frying pan. And then we'll make a brown gravy, a ram gravy. That'll be my take on it. I'll probably do some roasted mushrooms for it to get that real deep earthy flavor. So, just doing some dishes we haven't done before. And then that should cap us off for this week. So I'm probably, like I said, I'm gonna do 3 videos this week unless I feel like I wanna do more. I might do one tomorrow as well. Just depends on how I feel. I wanna use this sous vide. So I'm probably gonna do a video on that. So I'm just gonna take the ribeye steaks, bag them up with some olive oil, some butter, salt and pepper, some garlic, and some thyme, and let them hang out in the sous vide, which is just a controlled temperature. Think of it like almost like a jacuzzi or a hot tub that you can control the temperature. And then I'm gonna let them hang out for like an hour or two, those ribeyes, so they'll almost turn into butter by the time you cook them. And you keep them at like 120, 125, which is rare, real rare. And then you pick them up in a smoking hot cast iron pan. Sear, it's called a reverse sear. So on each side, you reverse sear it, and then you get that nice crust from the cast iron. And then, yeah, so just a different cooking method. We've done it a few times in the restaurants I've worked at. It's really cool for game meat. We would take deer and venison, which is naturally, little to no fat compared to a ribeye, but we sous vide it, and it was like cutting just straight through butter. It was perfect. You know, we did the same kind of concept. We did a little bit more as far as herb and seasoning goes in there than that, but that's kind of where I want to keep it at. Super simple, just so I can see how the process goes. Now this is chicken quarters. It's been sitting in a brine. So, and then I like patting it dry, as dry as possible. That way, you know, I get a nice even sear if there's any water on it. And then it's gonna be some water because salt's gonna bring that water to the front, to the top of that meat. So in order to get a good sear, you want a dry piece of meat. And the only thing I seasoned this with was a little salt, little pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to muddy up the stock because we're actually going to use the stock to cook our rice. So just to give it a lot more flavor. Right. Let's go ahead and take you guys over here. Oh, light. Forgot to change that light out. So let me get rid of these comments so I can see what you guys are seeing. There's only 3 of you, so everybody else must be busy. So I've got a fairly good amount of oil in this pan. I'm just using canola oil like I usually do. And you want to get this pan pretty hot because you want a good sear. We're going to work in batches on this one. This is gonna take probably a good 5 minutes on each side. You want a really good sear because that's your first layer of flavor. All right, we'll go a little high. You want a really good sear on this. This is the first step in adding all of that into your dish. Look at our, it's called, if I haven't told you, you know, the technical French term is a mirepoix, which just means lettuce, or not lettuce, I'm sorry, onions, carrots, and celery. And like I've told you guys before as well, I like keeping the skin on the carrots. There's a lot of flavor in there. So I just wash the hell out of them and scrub them pretty good with a towel. And I like keeping the leaves on with my celery. There's a lot of flavor in that as well. It's naturally pretty dirty stuff, so make sure you scrub it really well. And you don't have to use the leaves. You don't have to use the skins on the carrots. You can peel all of that and remove all of that, but I like it that way. And we're going to use a little bit of white wine. I'm not an alcohol guy, so if you guys are and you think this is a shitty wine, that's on you. I don't drink it. I just use it to cook with. I just like the bottle, Little Penguin. So I like the bottle, so that's what I was going to go with. So whenever you're searing, you want a nice high temperature. So on most of these stoves, it goes 1 to 10, low to simmer, you know, low to high, and then numbers in between. I've got it sitting at about a 7, which is fairly high, but as long as you're sitting right here and you're paying attention, it's perfectly safe. So put on another light so you guys can see my light underneath this microwave isn't working. I got to change that light bulb. I forgot to do it. So, and like I said, today's dish is very easy. I want to do Monday dishes where it's, you know, easy, quick, something you guys can do, and I give you guys alternatives to, you know, what you can, and you can pretty much do anything with food, but what's easier and what's not easier. This is a little bit more, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's got a little bit more, you know, details, and, you know, it's just a lot harder to do than just going to get a rotisserie, but this is going to pay off a lot better than just getting a rotisserie chicken like we usually do. You know, because you're doing this, you're making the stock, and then you're going to use that same stock that you did for your leg quarters, and you're going to throw that into your rice. You know, so everything's going to get used here. Go ahead and check. Cooking at a high temp. Cooking at a high temp, you know, you always want to make sure you're not burning stuff. And I like to readjust when I'm searing. So that way anything that wasn't catching contact, that pan is catching contact now. And that's what you're really looking for in a sear. You want a nice golden brown. You know, mess with the heat, fluctuate. This retains heat very, very well. So does cast iron. But I'm going to be cooking this down. So I need something a little bit bigger, right, than my cast iron pan. If I only had 1 or 2 of these, I could do it pretty in there. I got a deep cast iron pan I could use as well, but it's almost, you know, you want it mostly submerged whenever you're braising. You know, and usually I take the braising liquid, I buzz it up with the immersion blender, strain it out, and that's what I would use for the base of a gravy or a sauce, or even a soup. You know, so let's put these comments back up here. Let's see if anybody's talking. Thanks, man. Hey, Andrea, hope everything's okay with you. Glad to see you're on here. Talking chicken, rice, cheese, broccoli, almost like a casserole. Showing everybody how to sear some chicken. Look at that. Now it's going to be a little dark because that's the garlic and the onion powder. So that's okay. You know, usually you could leave the seasoning off and then sear it that way so you have just golden brown on the color and the skin and everything like that. I'm actually going to put this one back here. I want a little bit more color on that one. I like to push down on different parts. That way everything's kind of catching contact. Like I said, this is one of these dishes my wife would make for us quite often because it was cheap as hell when I was still in the Navy. It was easy to make, it was quick to make, it was something you can throw together if you didn't want to cook all of this stuff. You know, in 10 minutes, 20 minutes really with the cooking of the rice, you know. But we're going to do a couple different steps that's going to really elevate that flavor by, you know, like I said, making our own cheese sauce, making the rice with the chicken stock that we're using to braise this chicken in. You know, so we're doing a couple different things that way. So, but to you guys that are watching, man, what are you guys doing for dinner tonight? You know, what are you guys going to make? You guys going to cook? You guys going to eat out? How was everybody's weekend? You know, I enjoyed the conversations and everything that I've had with everybody this past weekend. It's been a lot of fun. Just gonna let this hang out, man. This chicken quarters can take a beating. Why I like using these, like a chicken thigh, or not a chicken thigh, I'm sorry, because the chicken thigh is in here, but a chicken breast, is there's so much flavor in this. Plus, it's my favorite portion of the animal when it comes to chicken. The thighs and the legs are my favorite parts. There's so much fat, there's so much flavor here. You know, it really helps whenever you're doing something that's like a stew or a braise to use something that's got a lot of fat, because you run the risk of really drying out that piece of meat if you were to use a chicken breast. Now, if you brine the chicken breast, you know, and cook it correctly, no issues. But there's something that you're going to have to bring up to a boil, and it's going to go for quite some time to extract all of that flavor out of that chicken. You really want bone-in, skin-on chicken thigh or chicken legs. So, and this is usually a pretty cheap cut of meat whenever you go some places. It's usually $1.99 a pound for leg quarters. Most people don't buy leg quarters unless you go through a pandemic or a hurricane if you're in Florida. And everybody just buys whatever they can to fill up their fridge, their freezers, their coolers, whatever they can so everybody can eat. So it's a very, very cheap piece of meat. And I don't mean that disrespectful to what this chicken is. It's a very cheap, you know, economically inclined or induced piece of meat. Right? All right, so that one's got the sear on it that I'm looking for. We're going to take these, pop them right back on this plate. Like I said, we're not cooking it all the way in here. We're just getting some color. I'm going to pop that one back on here. We're actually going to turn the heat down pretty low, because I don't want any of that in the pan to scorch and burn. So whenever you're doing this chicken, raw chicken especially, wash your hands as much as possible. And always, always, always be leery of where you're setting your stuff. Things have the tendency and possibility of spreading salmonella. And you don't ever want to give that to somebody, especially if you got kids you're cooking for. You know, you want to be really leery with chicken. You know, a lot of people might wash their chicken. I don't, because it generally goes right into a brine. It's in a salty water, and it hangs out for at least 24 hours sometimes, depending on how big it is. Like something like this, I would let go for, you know, almost 30 hours depending on the salinity content in the brine. So whatever else I was doing with it. So, and another reason, like I said, that I want to drop that heat is whenever you pre-season something and you're searing it off like this, it puts all that particles and the particulate in the bottom of that pan. So you have the tendency to burn and scorch something, and I want to use all of that that's down there. So it's another reason you want to always monitor your heat. You know, there's times to cook high, there's times to cook low. And I can already start to hear that this has cooled down quite a bit. So I'm going to crank that heat up. It's not as high this time, that way I can, you know, mess around with it. Let's see what everybody's saying. Good luck on your doctor visit. I hope everything's okay. I love schnitzel too, and I'm using thighs and legs. I'm not a big chicken breast fan. If I do it, I enjoy it, but you know, there's a lot of people that just don't do chicken breast right. And a lot of people just don't use the brine. You know, and as your job is, you know, whether you're a chef, cook at home, you know, you just cook for fun. You know, the whole object of cooking is to make everything you have taste as good as it possibly can. You know, and I think there's a lot of steps that people don't do, and one of those is brining. You know, a lot of people don't brine. They don't have the time. They don't have the patience. They just want to do, you know, simple, quick, easy, which is perfectly fine, but it literally takes, once you get the hang of it, it only takes, you know, 5 minutes to really throw a brine together at most. You know, so anything I could possibly do to impart flavor anywhere I can, I'm going to do to the best of my abilities. And it all starts with the brine. It all starts with flavoring and layering of flavors like this. So I'm not going to let it go too much longer because, like I said, I don't want everything to scorch in that pan. But once I add all of this stuff, it's going to drop that temperature in this pan almost instantly. And there's a lot of fat and a lot of oil in this pan, so be wary of that because these vegetables do put off quite a bit of liquid and water, so be careful of popping and all that other stuff. Now we're going to sweat these down. I'm going to let this get a little bit of color before I add that wine because I want these to cook down. I want these to get a lot of that stuff up there. Right? And you can use this pan or this wooden spoon to really scrape a lot of that stuff up there. All this stuff is going to come up once I hit any kind of liquid in this pan. We're going to deglaze with a little bit of white wine. You can use white wine. You can use red wine. You don't have to use wine at all. You can deglaze with anything, any liquid really. You know, any alcohol, any water, chicken stock. It's all essentially the same thing. But you just got to think flavor profiles. What are you going for? And like I said, you can already start to see a lot of that fond coming off that pan, which is good. Because all that's flavor. All that's just going to make everything else come together. So let that go. Bring up that heat just a little bit. And that's just 1 onion, 2 carrots, 2 stalks of celery with the leaves on, and then 5 or 6 pieces of garlic clove. That's all you really need for a nice chicken stock. Now, I would throw some thyme in here. I just don't feel like going outside and getting it. You can throw bay leaves in here. I forgot to grab those when I went to the store. So we're going to keep this super basic. These carrots, these onions, these celery, this garlic, this chicken, a little white wine, some salt and pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and then some water just to cover it. And a general rule of thumb is for chicken braising, you only want to cover almost all the way up to the top. Now, since this is a smaller pot and these are bigger pieces, we're going to fill it almost quite a bit because there's going to be a lot that's going to reduce. But I also want to use at least a cup to 2 cups of this chicken stock for my my rice. So I'm going to add just a little bit more water than I usually would when I braise stuff because I want the chicken stock out of it. Now, if I was going to make this into a pan sauce, which a lot of people do, like myself do, after it's braised, because there's a lot of good flavor in all of this stuff that's just cooking down and marrying with that chicken, that garlic, the seasonings, and everything else that's going to go in here. I would turn it into a sauce, like I told you guys before. Strain it, buzz it, strain it, and then go from there. Right. So, let me show you guys. I've showed you before, but I'll show you again. All of this stuff is going to come right off once that oil starts heating up. It's called the fond in the bottom of the pan. All of it's going to come right up. All right. We're going to reduce this by half. I know you guys have heard me say that, and you know, probably seen it in recipes. You know, add wine and reduce by half. All that means is that whatever liquid you put in there, and it sounds like it's common sense, but a lot of people still ask this question, that it is however much you put in there. So if you put in a cup, reducing it by half is a half a cup. Right? You're cooking off the alcohol, but you're also giving it enough time for all of these vegetables to just completely soak in the wine, that flavor. If you want to look at it like a step-by-step procedure as far as flavor goes, right? We started with just regular canola oil and some seasoned chicken thigh. Seared them off. We left some chicken bits in there. You know, some chicken skin, some chicken fat. And we started sauteing our vegetables down. Got all that stuff that we left behind in the chicken. We started leaving stuff behind with the onions and the celery and the garlic and the carrots. And we deglaze it with that white wine and we scrape up everything. Right? So it's almost like a broth in a sense right there. You know, it wouldn't have as much chicken flavor as it would all these vegetables in this wine if we were just to add stock and not put this chicken back in. And you can do this with, you know, vegetable stock too if you'd like. You know, you don't have to throw chicken in here. You can do all vegetables. Like I said, I like a lot of broccoli in mine. We're actually going to char it off. Usually we would just steam it. So I might try charring it off just to add, you know, a different flavor and a little bit of depth to it. So whenever you do vegetables a different way, especially like charring, which is just in some oil, some salt and pepper, and you throw it on the broiler, or you throw it on the grill, or you steam it, or you just blanch it really quick and then throw it that way, each one carries a different flavor profile. Right? So charring stuff, man, it adds almost like a natural sweetness to it. And plus you're just getting pure, and other than raw, it's one of the better ways as far as a mineral and a vitamin content of getting all of that stuff out of that broccoli. Because whenever you boil something, whenever you cook something, you're losing the vitamins, you're losing the mineral content, you're losing all the stuff that's good about it. So you always want to cook it, in my opinion, as less as possible. I like vegetables to have quite a bit of crunch to them. They're done, but like I said, I don't like them being all mush, you know? I like the crunch of a vegetable. So add some water. Right. And like I said, almost covering. Right. We're going to crank this heat. We'll bring it to a boil. And then we're going to reduce it to a simmer. And this leg quarters, you know, generally 45 minutes to an hour as a simmer. They're done. A quick way, if you guys don't have a thermometer or a cake tester like I've showed you guys before on how to check to see if chicken's done. A fork stuck into the thigh or the leg and twist it. If it twists and pulls away from the bone, it's done. And like I said, whenever I do something like this, a braise, you know, I always let it rest. I'll keep it covered, and I take it and put it off to the side. With granite countertops, it absorbs the heat out of it, so it helps cool it down. But like I said, it also helps impart all of that flavor, all of that work we did in this pot, and it puts it back into that meat. So it's a little tip that, you know, I've learned through the last few years in the restaurants, and then, you know, culinary school. You learn a whole bunch of stuff, and then you learn stuff by watching, you know, videos, and you watch other people cook, or you read. You know, one of the best things you can do as far as cooking and learning how to cook is watching and reading. You know, I watch a lot of, he gets a lot of fucking shit for it. You know, sorry if you guys are offended by the word fucking shit. But he gets a lot of crap for it, both Emeril Lagasse and Guy Fieri, right? But I watch a lot of their stuff, and I've learned so many different techniques and so many different, you know, methods between cooking, braising, and smoking, and grilling, and then just repetition, trying, like, oh, it didn't work this time. I've learned so much from those guys, and that's something you guys can always learn. You know, a lot of people, they get set in a certain, you know, schedule, or they get into a rut with cooking. It's just, what can I do to cook as quickly as possible for my family so I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours in a kitchen? You know, watching these videos will take some of your favorite dishes that you guys might do once or twice a week, or you guys do every week. You do at least one time, like Monday's meatball day or meatloaf day, you know. Friday is fried chicken Friday, you know. Watching these videos or looking stuff up on YouTube or just talking to people when it comes to food, great way to learn something different, try something different. You know, I won't ever, you know, send something back, or I won't ever try something food-wise. I've had bugs, I've had crickets, I've had a few different kinds of larvae. I won't do, even though I'm telling you guys to go out there and try it, I won't do spiders because I don't like spiders. I won't eat roaches because I'm not a roach guy. You know, but I've had crickets, I've had larvae. You know, I've had some weird stuff, you know, in places like Thailand, but it was really good. And I've had some weird stuff in, you know, some places in the States too that, you know, I won't mention. You know, I've eaten cat before, not by choice, and didn't know it until after I tried it. Kind of got the texture of chicken and pork mixed together, and it's just super disgusting. You know, I thought I was eating curried chicken, but they lied to me. They got me. Got super sick after because they were a shady fucking business. You know, so you can already start to see these bubbles are, you know, starting to come up. But like I said, if it's within means, or if it's within reason, get out there and try something different, you know. The dish I made yesterday, that stuffed cabbage, you know, you guys were really nice in saying, you know, how great it looked. It tasted really great too. You know, we do something like that in the South, you know, stuffed peppers, stuffed green peppers. That one was more of a German take, you know. I've seen it done before. I've never made them before. So it's something I wanted to try, you know. And if it tastes like shit, you figure out how to make it taste better, right? Today, Monique, I am making, what's going on, Don? Long time no see and talk. Today I am making a chicken, rice, and cheese broccoli, almost like a casserole. Something my wife used to do back in the day. And like I said, with her working and me not working, I pretty much assumed, and I was always doing the cooking anyways, but she would cook every once in a while. She knows I like it more. I'm a nerd when it comes to this type of shit. So I like enhancing dishes and trying stuff and doing different things. So that's what I'm making now. I see Lacey, how are you? I see Shelly. Yeah, those cabbage rolls were really, 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 really good, man. It was super easy too. I mean, ground beef, rice, and then the same vegetables you saw in here with the lettuce. Or no, god damn it, why do I keep calling this shit lettuce? The celery, the carrots, the onions, and the garlic. And that was pretty much it. And then there's just a fine, you know, dice, so real small mince almost. And then tomato paste, crushed tomatoes, salt and pepper, and butter. That's pretty much it. And then just cooked all of that up, mixed it together, blanched off the cabbage, which just means par cooked, so it's pliable and it's, you know, it's cooked all the way through. And then you just throw tomato sauce on the bottom, throw tomato sauce on the top, and then throw it in the oven, 425 for, you know, 45 minutes till it's hot, essentially. And that's pretty much it. And it was great. You know, it's very light. It was heavy as far as like tomato sauces go. I added a little bit of sugar to kind of, you know, balance it out. But I think it needed that sharp and that tart to kind of counteract that fat from the bacon grease that I used to fry everything up in, plus the butter. So it kind of cut through and it made it really nice. Obviously, there's some things I would do differently. You know, probably try Napa cabbage next time. It's a little bit easier because it's longer and I can roll them a little bit better, but they are more narrow, so it'll just be something I play around with. You know, I like getting a dish that I've never done before. Like, I've never done schnitzel before. Like, I've made it, you know, in restaurants and stuff like that, but I've never physically done it here where I've had to, you know, supply all of the ingredients and, you know, from start to finish doing it that way. And I've made spätzle quite a few times. It's just a looser pasta, or a more wet pasta. It's very easy, very quick, but very fucking good, man. And of course the ram gravy, you know, it's brown gravy. Some places have a cream gravy. I'm just gonna do probably just a roasted mushroom brown gravy. You know, remove the mushrooms because my wife's not a big fan. You know, strain those off. Probably make like a mushroom stock and just use that as the base, and go from there. And we're gonna do that on Friday, and then Wednesday we're actually gonna do a pozole. I've been thinking about making one for quite some time because one of my favorite Mexican places down in Orlando, Reyes Mezcaleria, the chef Wendy Lopez. She's been on Guys Grocery Games a few times. She used to be the executive chef at Tapo Toro, down in Orlando by the convention center. She's been the chef there for the last couple years, and she made probably the best pozole I have ever had in my life. And anytime I go in there, I order it. And then last couple times I went in there, she just didn't have it on there because it's, you know, generally hotter. Most people don't like putting soup on because Florida, most people won't order soup. But I think if your soup's good enough, anybody will order it no matter what, you know. So I'm gonna make that on Wednesday, and that's gonna be kind of like what we did here, but it's gonna be a different flavor profile. You know, we'll have guajillos and chili arboles in there, some poblanos, tomatoes would go in here. Of course, maybe a carrot. I don't know yet. Just gonna depend on how I feel when I start making it. And some achote paste, some you know, some smoked paprika, you know, oregano, cilantro, and then we're gonna stew that. We're actually gonna do it with pork instead of chicken though. And then I'm gonna save half of that because I'm gonna make tamales on Monday with my comic book guy. He's been asking, you know, to make tamales, so we're gonna do a video on that one. So it'll probably be, you know, an earlier morning, you know, early afternoon type of video. Just depends on, you know, what time he gets over here and when we can get it set up and all that other stuff. So that's going to be on the menu, and then for this week, and of course for that pozole, we're going to finish it with, you always got to have avocado, hominy corn, which is a thick piece of corn. We'll have that pork. We'll have some radish in there. We're also going to have some cabbage, very finely shredded, and it'll, you know, cook in the broth once it's picked up. And that's pretty much it for this week's dishes. I showed you guys how to braise some chicken. When you guys come back, I'll show you guys what I do with the chicken stock, and, you know, how to kind of take it from this to that. You know, you always want to strain it. You don't want any particles in there, you know, chicken sinew or chicken tendon or anything like that. So you always want to strain your stocks off as much as you possibly can, and then skim any kind of, you know, fat off there if you want to. And then I'll show you how to make that cheese sauce, and then we'll just do some charred broccoli. Like I said, I didn't want to do, you know, everything ahead of time and then you guys feel cheaped out, you know. You guys spend a lot of time watching me, listening to me talk, coming to the page and interacting. I want to give you guys as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you. We hit 2,200 subscribers pretty quick on Sunday. We're actually halfway to 2,300 now. Can't do that without you guys, so please keep inviting all your friends and your family members. And even people you don't like, invite them too, bring them along. Like I said, keep interacting with the post. I'm really enjoying everybody's comments. I'm going to try to do those interactive posts, you know, on the days I don't do videos. So, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays for sure. You guys will see something tomorrow pop up. You know, so interact with that, share it, you know, hit that heart button, hit that, you know, emote care, the smiley face if it made you laugh, hit all that stuff, man. It lets other people see the page. The more interaction I get from you guys, you know, other people starts popping up into other people's timelines, right? So that's what I'm really going for, man. I want to get everybody that I possibly can here. And, you know, there's going to be some big things that are coming in the next couple months. So like I said, thank you again. I appreciate you guys spending some time with me. And I'll see you back here